Hello and welcome to Embertone Land, where we are so happy to introduce you to our newest member of the family, the mountain dulcimer, which is a part of our whiskey series, which is going to be a collection of all Appalachian instruments. So from that section of the United States, you could just imagine the kinds of instruments that will come out of that. I'm incredibly excited to tell you all about the mountain dulcimer. It has an incredible sound. It was recorded really well. It was sampled very thoroughly. You get individual string control if you want that level of control. And then it was programmed with an insane level of detail. So without further ado, let's just play a little bit. All right, so let's just talk about the front screen and some of the controls that we have that are universal. So first of all, you have these three plectrums on the screen, D, A, and D, and these represent the only three strings on the mountain dulcimer. This instrument was sampled with all possible notes on each string, and using key switches, you could decide which string you want to play, so they all sound different. That lower D has a warmer sound, and as you go up the strings, you'll notice the timbre will shift. Different personality. So those are the three different strings, and what you're hearing is a drone underneath with a melody note. And that's how the mountain dulcimer works, but I'll get into that in a sec. So we have reverb, which is just as you'd expect it. It gets wetter and drier. Super dry with no reverb. There's a spread control, so if you want a mono sound, is a round robin button with 3 different states. When it's off, you are not hearing round robin. Yeah, when round robin is off, you're just hearing the default up and down picked strokes. When the round robin button is on, like this, you are hearing sequenced round robin, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of a pattern. And then if you press the round robin button again, there's a third state, which is random round robin. So if you don't want a pattern to it, that 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of sound that you can predict, then random round robin is for you. There's a simple button here too, just a little EQ adjustment that Jonathan made, just to bring out some of the natural warmth and tones of the instrument. So you could hear the raw state when you turn it off. Pretty subtle difference. All right, so we're going to start with smart mode, and smart mode has maybe some of the deepest scripting of the instrument. The goal here was to try and have a mode that stays true to what the mountain dulcimer is, but at the same time make it really intuitive to play. You could play one note at a time in smart mode. You could play chords. And you could also re-strum the note, which is maybe my favorite part. So so much fun. It's really hard to stop playing, noodling around on the mountain dulcimer, so be warned that this is a highly addictive instrument. So right, in smart mode, you could play chords, you could play single notes, and you could re-strum, which is great. And some of these options, in my opinion, are best left to auto, because the script takes care of it. For example, string selection, you could choose between auto and manual. In auto mode, it chooses which string to play. So if you start at the top of the range, that's the high string. So as you move out of the range of that particular string, it switches for you. If you switch that to manual, what you end up getting is the particular range for that string that you're on. So as you click this plectrum, or you press the key switches for it, you'll see that the range shifts. So what you're going to hear is only that string, and you won't be able to play outside the range, and it won't decide to switch to a different string for you. With the strum direction, it's always up, down, up, down, up, down, and if you switch it to manual, it'll either be up, 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 or down, 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 and you could switch it yourself. The legato notes is a really important control, and it's crucial depending on what you want to play. So in single mode, when you play chords and you want to move some notes within that chord in kind of a melody, it does not restrum everything for you. So if you play a chord, when you switch to chord legato, you get something that's slightly truer to the actual mountain dulcimer, and that's it restrums the whole chord as you play melody notes. So I should mention that you could alter strum speed. It's really easy to do, and in smart mode, incredibly detailed. You have a lot of control. So that's with the fastest speed strumming, and I set this to CC1 just now, so the mod wheel controls the speed of the strum. So the speed of the chord is totally controlled by the CC. So it's a pretty faithful recreation of what it would actually sound like on a dulcimer. At the fastest speed, if you play a chord, this is what it sounds like. Okay, so here's a demonstration on what strum speed, what the CC actually does. And I set it to the mod wheel here. So at the bottom level, you have the fastest strum. And I'm going to move it up. It's really nice. I love ending phrases with a slower strum. It just gives it this poetic, really musical, satisfying feeling. Moving right down, you have pluck style, which is pretty self-explanatory. There's picked and fingered. So let's give that a play. This is picked. Fingered. Hear that really warm sound. We're listening to the lowest string. What that sounds like on the A string. Oh, we're back to the D string. Here's the A string. And then you have smart chords. And smart chords is a mode of programming that tries to keep awareness of the physical nature of the mountain dulcimer, tries to choose configurations of strumming that applies to an actual mountain dulcimer. So it orders the notes in just the right way, and it articulates the notes in just the right way. So there's different sustain behaviors as well that you could choose. You could choose for the note to release when you lift the key. You could hear a really nice release sample there too. There's sustain pedal mode, which would be similar to actually just playing a piano. And then there's always sustain, which just means the notes will resonate out. Sounds really pretty. It could get a little messy depending on what you're actually playing. And now that I've gone through smart mode, I want to point out this new feature of Embertone instruments, and it's right down here, this little eye. It's a tooltip, and it's basically like having the manual right on the contact page. So you can scroll around and see what everything does. You don't even need to be listening to me right now, because once you have the instrument under your fingers, you could figure out everything that the instrument does and learn all about it without having to open a single PDF file, which is really nice. I tend to be kind of lazy about that, where I don't like to read the manual. I just want to jump straight into the instrument. If you're not totally understanding what something does, check out the tooltips. It's pretty darn cool. All right, going to natural mode now. This is my favorite mode of the instrument. When you're in natural mode, you are combining chord drones with melody notes. And this is the way you actually typically play the mountain dulcimer, which is you strum drone chords while playing a melody note with your finger. Right now we're in a C drone because I pressed the C key switch. So every note that I play up here in this range is going to have a C drone under it with a melody note changing. And then when I change these, I'm going to be changing the drone. These key switches down here. So once you get the hang of playing the drone chords down here and the melody notes up here, the possibilities are limitless. And what I love about it, not only do I love the way it sounds, but this brings it way beyond what an acoustic mountain dulcimer can play. An acoustic mountain dulcimer typically is kind of stuck in one key, and there's a lot you could do, and you could change lots of different chords, but you don't quite have the flexibility of this instrument where you can change any chord with any combination of melody note. So it's like a hyper mountain dulcimer, basically. Okay, so moving on, we have many of the same controls. So we already talked about string selection, strum direction. Legato notes is a little different in natural mode, so it's worth mentioning that when you're in single note mode here, the first note you play is going to have a chord, and then if you overlap your notes, those will have single legato behavior. And then if you're in legato chord mode, then it will restrum with every new note that you play. And then sustained behavior works exactly the same way. Finally, a split mode is really great for a percussive style of play. And what it does is it opens up two ranges here, as you can see with these blue keys, and you could play identical notes in those ranges. So it's really great for playing these fast, repeated strumming patterns. I should mention too that in natural mode, you could do that same sort of restrumming. It just takes a little bit more practice with key switches, and you could assign those key switches wherever you want. You can get that same sort of percussive style, but in natural mode you have a little bit more control over strings and chord combinations. We're going to go into the strummer now. The strummer is your friend. When you're looking for a quick rhythm, there are so many great, catchy rhythms in here that will just set off inspiration for you guys when you're creating music. So let's turn that strummer on. The power button is right there. Just listen to that groove, just with the muted strings. Super catchy, super organic. Okay, so with the strummer, it's basically like an arpeggiator on steroids. You have control over lots of different things. You have control over the strength of the note. So also a slider here will scale up and down the proportions of this window. You have control over speed, which wouldn't be super helpful with this speed, with this tempo, but you could kind of make a mess. You have control over up and down directions, so everything could be up or down, or you could alternate it, or you can have a specific, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down sort of pattern. By default, it's going to be up, down, up, down, up, down, if everything is in the middle here. You have control over which areas are muted. And then you have control over pitch. All right, you get the idea. And then there's an all button where you can control all these things at the same time. And the reason the all button is really helpful is there's also a copy and a paste button. So if you have all selected and you click copy, you could take that entire pattern and move it over to this B section. So what I've just done is taken all of these patterns here, velocity, speed, direction, mute, and pitch, and I pasted it over to B. So that's really helpful because this area of the sequencer will allow you to move between patterns, A, B, C, and D. So if you select all of them and you enable them with this little power button, it'll cycle. Let's listen to a different groove. Also, I should mention this instrument comes with 64 badass grooves. Some of them are crazy, some of them are really understated and like nice rhythms, but they're all worth checking out. Let's listen to a few. You can get so many different sorts of sounds that don't belong even to the dulcimer. Like what we just had there sounded kind of ethereal and, I don't know, digital. Let's listen to some others. Cool. So there's lots of inspiration to get from this strummer, whether you're a tweak head and you want to really get every detail and make your own sequences, or you just want to turn the strummer on and get inspired with a preset groove. I think there are a couple buttons that I haven't talked about yet, so just to mention them, there's a randomize button here. So it will randomize whatever is selected. So for example, if I click on that, it's going to randomize everything because the all button. So we just made a completely random sequence. Then there's a couple of items over here that are worth mentioning. There's steps, and that will just change the number of sequenced steps in that particular pattern. There is the rate, and that's just the rhythmic speed. Let's change it to something. Let's see, yeah, that's good. There's swing, which is pretty self-explanatory, but just so that you could hear it. And then there's sobriety, and that's the level of drunkenness that your virtual mountain dulcimer player is performing with. So at 0, your virtual mountain dulcimer player is sober, and then as you move it up, you can see in the display, all right, now we're in tipsy territory. And now your dulcimer player is flat out drunk. Cool. All right, so if you want to make your own grooves, there are tons of slots out in the back. So let's say we want to make a preset here with number 68. We'll click on it, and you could enter all your settings. Let's just totally randomize it to see what kind of crazy thing we get. Nice. So let's say that is our masterpiece. Let's save it. So we click save, and we can name the preset here as well. So masterpiece. Great. And then we save it. It's also really easy to import and export grooves. So if you want to share your favorite grooves with your friends, you could click the export button and it'll put up a dialog box for you. Also, you can import ones. So for example, if we send out an expansion pack with more grooves, then you click this button and you could import them. And finally, you have the ability to cycle through grooves with the left and right arrow. And then there's different MIDI sync statuses. We'll go into the tooltips to see how this is phrased. You could set the synchronization mode of the strummer, so it'll either follow your sequencer, or it could by the beat. It'll either follow your sequencer by a beat, bar, or running freely. That's pretty crucial when you're loading this in a sequencer. And then the sequence, you could tell it to either restart whenever you lift a key, or to continue. So when you're in continuous mode, the arpeggiator or strummer will keep on going even if you lift a key. As you can see, it's cycling through there. And when I bring the key down, it activates and plays wherever the sequence happens to be. And then in restart mode, that's maybe a little bit more traditional. When you lift the key, the sequence stops. All right, so we're almost through all this. The last thing to talk about is the configure page, where we have developed an easy new system of assigning key switches and CC modes. Simply press on it, play, and you have your CC right there. So there's no drop-down dialog boxes or anything. You just click and play, and it sets your CCs just like that. Really easy. And it's the same with key switches. Click, play, click, play. So there's a lot of customizability there, is that even a word? And then you could turn certain groups of samples on and off in this left section. Legato samples, release samples. If you don't tend to prefer those, just take them out. And finally, the last thing to mention is the CC dynamic control. When you click on CC dynamic control, you are no longer controlling the strength of the strum with the velocity on the keyboard. Yeah, when you're in CC dynamic control mode, whatever CC is set here is the one that's going to control it. So I'm going to set it to CC 11 because that's what it is by default. So now when I bring my CC pedal that you cannot see up and down, it'll change the dynamics, not the velocity that I'm playing. All right, so that was a ton to get through. This is maybe the longest walkthrough video I've ever done, but I hope it gave you a really clear picture of what this awesome mountain dulcimer can do and what kind of sounds you can get from it. And maybe I'll see you guys off with a little improv. Yeah, because I've been really itching to jump back in and play this, so I'm going to switch it over to natural mode, and I will bid you guys farewell. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough, and catch you guys later.